What is going on, everybody? My name is Jimmy Scalia, and for the Third Floor Lounge podcast, we have an awesome Vikings episode ready to roll right now. Obviously, I got my co-host Bill Hooper ready to roll, but don't forget, I have same die-hard Vikings fans and Zack Walters and Billy Fiola. So I hope you guys really enjoy this episode. We're ready to go, and right now there's like a perfect time for Vikings fans, right? Because it's the off season. There's no losing that's really happening right now. So with that being said, let's just jump right into this. And why not recap last season for the Vikings? They start 0-3 on the year and end up missing the playoffs with a 7-9 record. And the 8-8 Bears made the playoffs over them. Like, what the hell happened in the NFC? I have no clue. Can somebody explain to me?
Nobody wanted that last seed, man. Between the Bears, the Cardinals, and the Vikings, everybody tried to lose out in order to not make it. I mean, that 3-game stretch where they lost to Tampa, they should have won that game. They lost to Chicago, and then they got absolutely destroyed by New Orleans on Christmas. It's just the defense just wasn't up to par, man. They lost way too many people. You know, Hunter was obviously the biggest one. You lose Anthony Barr and his pass rushing ability. You know, we lost Rhodes. I mean, obviously he wasn't great last year, but we lose him, Mackenzie Alexander, and Trey Waynes, and we have a bunch of rookie corners starting. The defense was just in shambles, and Mike Zimmer just really never figured it out. Hopefully year two with all these young kids with Barr and Hunter coming back will hopefully, turn some of those L's into wins.
Yeah, and honestly, like, if they didn't start 1-5, I think they would have made the playoffs. It's just like they couldn't recover after that. You know, they weren't bad after they started 1-5. They had a good stretch there. I think they won like 5 out of 6 after they started 1-5. They finished the year 6-4. Like, so they weren't a bad team in stretches of the year. It's just once you start 1-5 and your guys aren't clicking, you're just not going to recover, and you're just not going to make the playoffs at that point. You know, even though they had a bad defense, their offense was very good. Dalvin Cook, one of the best running backs in the league, had an insane year. They averaged 168 rushing yards per game. So, you know, their slow start is really what destroyed their season.
Yeah, Zach, what did you think of it?
I mean, it was a tough year. I mean, you lost, like Billy was saying, you lost a lot of key players on defense. You lost Hunter. He was out for the whole year. Barr was out week 2. Kendricks was out for most of the year. I mean, the only veterans you really had on the team on the defense was Harrison Smith, Anthony Harris. I mean, and like Billy said, we're starting a bunch of rookies. So one key piece I'm looking forward to getting back, and we haven't even seen play in Minnesota yet, is Michael Pierce from Baltimore. They signed him. They signed him to, I think, a 3-year, $27 million contract in the offseason. He opted out. He has asthma, so he was like, nope, no way. Don't want to play with the COVID. So, but it sounds like he's going to come back. Rick Spielman said in a Zoom call today that sounds like he's going to come back, get vaccinated. He'll be back for 21. And I look forward to having his presence in the front four there.
Yeah, definitely. Because obviously, look, Everson Griffin, he was gone. And, you know, it was kind of emotional because I'm a big fan of Everson Griffin. He's just a big personality, always in the locker room. And, you know, seeing him, obviously he went to Dallas and worked there. He went to Detroit. So that definitely, like, they need that help that they weren't getting on the defensive line. They traded Unique and Ngakoue, all these moving parts. Getting Hunter back, getting Pierce back, those would be huge things moving forward. But also we got to think about the other side of the ball. I really need to address this. Is Kirk Cousins the guy that, look, he's a great guy, but as we all remember, he was a little inaccurate on his own when he was throwing that little hacky sack thing to see what his child's gender would be. He was a little inaccurate on that. That has me, like, that worries me. Like, as Vikings fans, like, how do you guys, like, truly feel about Kirk Cousins? And Zach, you go first.
We've had a very below average, mediocre, terrible offensive line for a while. It's been Rick Spielman's job to fix it, and he has not yet. I mean, the Mike Remmers signing did not work out, you know, sticking guys like, I don't know, just, you know, guys like Dakota Dozier, just sticking random guys in there. It's just, you know, Riley Reef had a good season. You know, Ezra Cleveland was a rookie. He had an up and down season. It's just, you know, Pat Eifline, our center/guard, ended up getting released. It's just a lot of moving pieces over the years. It's tough for a quarterback to get, comfortable in an offense when the offensive line is consistently changing and he's on his back. I mean, when he has a clean pocket, he throws beautiful, footballs. It's tough. You have to hold Rick Spielman accountable at some point for just continuously not drafting and signing quality free agents. I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing how Garrett Bradbury and Cleveland continue to progress. But I mean, at this point, I can't be super hopeful because everybody else has been a bust.
But this is a problem. They have weapons now. Look at this jersey right behind me, okay? Adam Thielen. Then you give him, you lose Diggs. You get pretty much Diggs Jr. and Justin Jefferson. You have Cook. Obviously, Rudolph's gone. That's something we're going to be talking about, too. But, Zach, isn't it, a little do we want to see this, offense open up a little more? Just a little bit.
I think so. Right now, where it sits, I think this offense, skill-wise, yardage-wise, maybe. I'm not sure where they ended the year ranking, but I mean, it's a top 10. Could easily be a top 5 offense if they get that ball throwing.
Yeah.
I mean, Cook's carrying that run game. I mean, he's like Bill said earlier, he's one of the best backs in the league. He run, catch, whatever you want him to do. Red zone, punch it in at the goal line, perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, you have Thielen and Jefferson. I mean, what else can you ask for there? I mean, like you said, the departure of Kyle Rudolph, that's going to hurt. But, I mean, we got cheaper, younger, and I think a little faster at the tight end position with Irv Smith Jr. This is going to be his 3rd year out of Alabama. But it's frustrating, though. I mean, Kirk has these games where it's he has these bonehead moments where it's just there was a game with Atlanta. The first play of the game, he throws a pick, and Atlanta drives down, scores. Right then and there, I said the game's over because how Kirk starts the game is how he will play for the rest of the game. If he drives down the field, goes 5 for 6, 50 yards and a touchdown, he's going to have a phenomenal game, and you have a very good chance of winning the game as long as the defense holds. So. Yeah. It's frustrating. It's very frustrating. But I mean, when he's on and when he's good, he can be as good as anybody, accurate as anybody, and it's amazing how far he can go on the spectrum. It's great to just who is this guy? It's terrible.
And like you mentioned, Zach, you said they can be a top 10 or top 5 offense. They were actually the 4th best offense by yards per game this year. So. They were moving the ball down the field a lot. They were more mediocre in their points per game. They were in the mid to lower tier in that sense. So they were moving down the field. They just sometimes they wouldn't score. They had some kicker issues. But when it comes to Kirk Cousins, I think, he's a good quarterback, but he's not a great quarterback. And he's not gonna push the Vikings far in the playoffs. You just look at the last 4 teams this year in the playoffs. Tom Brady, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, and Aaron Rodgers. 4 quarterbacks that are easily top 5, at least top 10 quarterbacks in the league. So it's the best quarterbacks are all making the playoff runs. It's guys that are good but not great aren't going far in the playoffs, and that's just been the case for years. It just seems like the best quarterbacks are always there at the end, and unfortunately for the Vikings, they don't have the guy that's gonna take them all the way.
Yeah, exactly. And it's hard to say because it's he's a great guy and he has a lot of great energy in games. And I think that was a great point you brought up, Zach. That the way he does start it is kind of because that's something I never thought about when you brought it up. Now, when I think about a lot of these past games, it does make sense because how good are they playing from behind? And I think the problem with the Vikings is they're one of those teams where it's there's always something a little off. If there's a reason they lose, maybe it's Zimmer. Why are they going to overtime against the Jaguars? They should never be in that position. Or Dalvin Cook's hurt. Or this isn't a great Kirk Cousins game. Take a look at the Packers game they had when they beat the Packers. They show that they're more physical than the Packers. Dalvin Cook went off. Their defense was coming up with stop after stop. The Packers are soft, in my opinion. They were more physical that day. If they want to play, as well as they could, they could actually be competing in way more games than they should have, really. That's my thoughts. I don't know about you guys.
Definitely. I don't know. I mean, that's the thing with division games. They're always weird like that. Sometimes the worst team beats the better team. And I'm not saying, the Vikings were the worst team, I mean, they were this year, but in some sense, like, when the Vikings were on this year, they were on. Like they went on stretches where they were a good team. So they have that potential. And if they can shore up their defense, if Mike Zimmer can coach a little better, because this was his worst year of coaching he's had with the Vikings since his first year with the Vikings when they also went 7-9. And that's the thing. Like, I don't think Mike Zimmer is on the hot seat or anything because he's always been a solid coach with the Vikings since the beginning. But what do you guys think of Mike Zimmer? Like, do you think his coaching really affected the play this year, or do you think it was the talent?
I mean, I really just feel like I feel like he didn't have a lot to work with. I feel like our roster was such in shambles, especially when Pierce opted out, and then you have injuries and people leaving in free agency. He was stuck with a young cornerback core of, Cameron Dantzler, Jeff Gladney, Harrison Hand.
Whoa! Those are household names. What are you talking about?
Harrison Hands, Mark Fields. Like you're throwing certified bums out on the field.
Wait, what about Holton Hill? What happened to Holton Hill?
Dude, that guy, he's a troublemaker, man. He's always getting suspended. And he has talent, man. The talent's there. When he plays, he's not bad. Same thing with Mike Hughes. The problem is the guy has neck problems. He's always hurt.
Yep.
We have talent, like with Hughes and Holton Hill. It's just stupid things, I don't know if it's just discipline, with like Holton Hill just being stupid, but I don't know. The injuries just killed us this year, and we're just throwing anybody out there at this point that can play cornerback. Our defense was terrible. There were 4 games this year that I can point out between Tennessee, Seattle, Dallas, and the second game against Chicago when they lost 33-27. They shouldn't have lost any of those games. They blew it. They blew all 4 of those games. They should have finished this season a minimum 9-7. They never, ever should have lost to Tennessee or Seattle. They never should have lost to Dallas. I mean, losing to Chicago, I get because it's a division game, but those other 3 games, they never should have lost those games. It just comes down to just the talent on the field and just Zimmer just not showing up. You gotta work with what you have, and he never shows up when they need him to.
Yeah. No, yeah. What do you think about that, Zach, though?
I like Zimmer. I'm a Zimmer guy. I stand by Zimmer. I agree. A lot of injuries on defense this year. That hurt a lot. I mean, and like Billy was saying, like we were working with a lot of nothing. I mean, you put out rookies. You were putting out guys off the street. I mean, like Mark Fields. We traded a 7th round compensatory pick for him from Kansas City last year. He's a nobody. So,
Who the hell is he?
Nobody knows.
Corner. Yeah, it came from nowhere, man. So I mean, and he was getting starts. We were signing guys from that were cut from Arizona. Chris Jones.
Mm-hmm.
I'm familiar with him.
So it was frustrating, but I hope next year, like getting your key pieces back, you get like we said multiple times, Pierce, Hunter, Barr, Kendricks is back. So I mean, like you get those pieces back. I hope Zimmer can string it together, and we'll see how we go for next year.
It's just kind of funny to me that it's like the one player we're like, who the hell is that? Vikings are like, guys, we got to trade for him right now. It's like, no, we're not. So there's got to be like a draft pick, stuff on a bookshelf somewhere. Like we can find it somewhere.
I was happy with how Gladney and Dantzler progressed throughout the year. I think they will have a very good second year. I'm very happy with how they performed. But we need solid backups. We need solid depth because we can't keep throwing people like Mark Fields out there, It's tough to lose your 2 starting corners and your starting nickel corner and then try and rebound it the next year with a bunch of rookies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean,
I don't think it's all bleak for the Vikings because they do have the potential to be a good team. It's like they had a rough start to the year, but I think they'll be back. I think they'll be a wild card team next year. I think they'll at least make the playoffs. And once you get into the playoffs in football, anything can happen, right? So we'll see.
Yeah, what do you guys kind of expect, like this off season at least, and like will that turn into fruition for next season? Like, is there optimism or no?
There's always optimism in Minnesota. The team is built around continuity, trying to keep the staff together, keep the team together. So, I mean, like, it's a team that's always trying to compete, always wants to compete, take as many stabs at the playoffs every year that we can instead of, like, build like a team like Tampa, build this super team and shoot for 1 year. So I'm very optimistic. I'm always very optimistic about the team, but I mean, I'm confident in the offense. I'm confident that Zimmer will write the defense. It's really what they're going to do with the offensive line, what they're going to do with the defensive line. You need another pass rusher. You need another defensive tackle. You need at least one guard. You need maybe 2 guards. So it can be done.
The laundry list.
I think another big thing that Zimmer and Spielman are going to have to address in the offseason is the special teams unit, because our special teams this year was absolutely terrible. Between Dan Bailey was awful. I mean, he doesn't have it anymore. It's over, man. You know, our return game was putrid. Our special teams unit as a whole was just bad. It's crazy because we had Marcus Sherrills for so many years who continue, you know, game after game got us so many yards. It's just the same thing every year with the Vikings. What field goal kicker are we gonna ruin this year?
Right.
If they signed Justin Tucker, like, he would just be hitting uprights all of a sudden.
He hit 63% next year.
It'll be the doink fest. Just
it's just like a thing.
I mean,
like, is it the air up there?
Yeah, what's the matter?
We had a good special teams coach for a while, Mike Prefer, and he ended up leaving. And now that he's gone, it's just, everything just crumbled this year. All 3 facets of what makes a good football team just crumbled in the end. You know.
Yeah, it's sad.
But special teams is a must.
Like Zach was saying, he has optimism every year. I have optimism every year for the Giants, but every year they do bad. So.
I mean, I'm optimistic because we have the talent. It's just the Vikings. The Vikings just never. They always find a stupid way to blow it. You know, a field goal kicker misses. You know, who's getting suspended, who's getting hurt. There's always, Randy Moss and Dante Culpepper are partying with strippers on a boat. You know, it's always something that the Vikings screw up, you know?
Yeah.
Right.
You know, and that's funny because even like that Buccaneers game, they should have won as well.
They should have won that game.
Yeah, it was a close
dominated that game. But like, they had a couple missed kicks, a few dumb mistakes, and they lost.
Brady played bad that game too. We had him, and they blew it.
It was unbelievable. Unbelievable how much the Vikings have messed up over there.
Yeah, and another one that was like they won in the end, but that Panthers game was like, what the hell was going on? You got like this guy scoring, the same guy had 2 defensive touchdowns, like Jeremy Chin, that guy on the Panthers. Like, I don't understand like what happens. They just don't play like a collective unit in those games, you know?
They don't. They really don't.
But
no, those are dumb mistakes that like they shouldn't be happening, especially when you have a veteran coach like Mike Zimmer. I understand when you have like a first year coach or something, but like you need better you need better communication, better chemistry than that. Those dumb mistakes just can't happen when you have a veteran coach. Like those dumb mistakes don't happen with the Patriots. The Patriots seem to always be good. They always seem to be clicking. They had a rough year this year, obviously, because they didn't have the talent. But, like, I don't know. It seems like some teams make those dumb mistakes year after year, and then some teams never make those mistakes. I don't know why the Vikings continue to do that with Mike Zimmer as, like, a veteran.
I mean, you brought up a great point. I mean, in New England, even though Cam Newton, after his injury, had a pretty rough year and they didn't play well, they still almost made the playoffs. They were up for it up until the end. It's Bill Belichick. Guys like Bill Belichick, Andy Reid, doesn't happen with them.
Literally. They're always good. It shows how important coaching is in the NFL. It's so important. So important.
And some of it's like not directly on Zimmer, but it's like we know the Vikings have issues with specific offensive coordinators. Like it's always kind of been that problem, there. I feel like I remember John Filippiano.
6 offensive coordinators in 6 years, man. We're going on to our 6th offensive coordinator in 6 years.
That's a problem.
That's crazy.
Like, that is so much of an issue where it's like,
Yeah.
Obviously Kirk deserves some of the blame, but it's like it's spread out kind of everywhere,
I mean, it's the only difference this year is it's Kubiak's son. So at least we're gonna probably most likely stick to the same offense, same scheme, and everything. So it shouldn't be too different. They had a whole season together to work together with Kubiak. Now they should be all right and ready to go season 2 under Kubiak's son.
Yep.
Definitely. As
It's
we get a
funny
little closer. Oh,
I was gonna say,
Bill?
it's funny all the nepotism in the league. How it's always some guy's son. Like,
Yeah,
you see Belichick hired his son, and now like Andy Reid has his son on his coaching staff. It's like they all have their sons like coaching now. You know?
Yeah, it's just they just get away. Where's the union? Like, is anybody gonna like investigate?
Zimmer's son's on our staff too.
Oh, you can't make.
Yeah,
this
there you
shit
go.
up.
They always hire their sons. You know.
Really quick before we wrap this episode up too, last thing I do want to go over, Zach and Billy, your worst, and obviously outside of Stephon Diggs' touchdown, your worst and favorite Vikings memories. Billy, you can go first.
Oh, you want me to go first? Let me see. Honestly, I would say just the whole. I would say maybe the 2012 season, just Adrian Peterson coming back from the ACL and running for over 2,000 yards, taking us to the playoffs.
That was like,
with Christian Ponder at the helm, which was just another gem from us. The worst. It really, besides 2009 Saints, because that's always the typical Vikings answer, I really thought we were going to beat the Eagles in 2017. But in typical fashion, we lost 38-7. Also, hold on. I have a game playbook of my first Vikings game when I went to the Mall of America Stadium in 2013 when they played the Cam Newton Panthers and lost 38-10. That's also a great memory I have.
That's awesome. Thanks for bringing that on the show. Because Zach, you also went to a Vikings game too, right?
Yeah, my girlfriend and I, we went to Minnesota. We went to the newest stadium, US Bank.
Nice.
We played the Raiders. When we were planning our trip, I said there was two things. I said one, we're going before the snow comes. I said we're not doing that. We're not getting the true Minnesota experience. And I said two, we're flying out there and everything. I said we're gonna pick a game that we're gonna win. So we played the Raiders in 2019, week 3, and
smacked them.
Oh, we destroyed it. It was great.
Oh yeah.
That's awesome.
I mean, it was good.
That's cool. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, making that trip out there, like that's what the fan experience is all for. And
the Skull chant is unbelievable. Sitting with 60,000 other fans doing the Skull chant. I remember just sitting there. I was like, holy smokes, like this is unbelievable.
Yeah, that atmosphere is probably insane, because I know in the US, like US sports teams don't have that as much. Like I know in Europe they have those insane chants, but I guess like the Vikings have that skull chant. It's similar to like that Europe like passionate, like soccer,
It's unbelievable.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Definitely. And right before we wrap up, Zach, did you want to give any input on your worst and favorite memories at all? I got a minute.
There's so many worst memories to choose from. It's great.
I was gonna say, what do you mean? Let's see. Let's pull out the list. One of the ones. I mean, obviously the Minneapolis Miracle was phenomenal, but so I mean, from there on out, I loved beating the Saints. So in 2019, when we went down and played the Saints in the wild card, and we were supposed to lose that by a mile, and we took them to overtime, and we had Kyle Rudolph back of the end zone touchdown. I remember watching that with all my friends, and that was incredible. I mean, worst. Oh, it's a lot of bad. I think some of the Kirk games are really frustrate me. Like some of the bad Kirk games are just terrible. And then, like Billy was saying, the 2017 Eagles conference game, we were the best. I mean, to this day, on paper we were the better team going into that, and the Eagles just rallied around the whole underdog mentality. And after the first 2 drives, they just whooped us.
Because the first drive, they went right down, scored. I'm like, oh, this is looking great.
Yeah, we stopped them on defense, 3 and out. I said, oh. Yep. Then we went down, scored on offense. I said, oh. And that was it. That was it.
That was the height. Yeah. Well, let's hope things work out a little better this season, and just at the very least, just no crazy heartbreak in the fourth quarter, because you guys.
Absolutely.
I mean, there's part of you that are used to it, but I don't want to see my friends get hurt anymore. But with that being said, guys, I want to thank you so much again, Zach and Billy, for joining us on this show. Thanks, guys, for coming and sharing your Vikings experiences and trauma as well. And Bill, also thank you too. So. With that being
Thanks
said,
for having
Third
us.
Floor Lounge signing off, and we'll catch you guys with another episode soon. So see ya. Take care, everybody.